What's up, friends? It's Haley, aka Bird, and you are tuning in to the Give 'em the Bird podcast. This podcast is all about challenging what it means to be healthy and fit. It's about celebrating sustainable behavior change and non-scale victories. And most importantly, it's about giving the bird to the diet industry and societal expectations of body size. Why? Well, because at the end of the day, you have an entire life to live that does not require your body look a certain way. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's give 'em the bird. Hello and welcome to season 2 of GTB. It feels so freaking good to finally say that. I have recorded several episodes leading up to this one, but this one just feels really good. It feels so good to be back behind the mic, and season 2 feels very aligned for me. So I just want to say hello to all of you. Welcome back. Thank you for continuing on this weird ass ride and journey and fun time with me. If you're new here, welcome. You're in such good company. We're a fun group of people here. And I say that even though I'm the only person, I'm the only bird. But I have just taken some time to really reflect on the amazing community that is GTB. Like, we are small, but we are mighty. And I think that if you are, a new listener, you will love it. You will love it here. So I wanted to use this episode kind of as a kickoff to season 2. I want to tell you all about what's to come in season 2, but I also want to catch you up on life, and I want to catch up on your life as well. So definitely be on the lookout for a coffee chat here soon. So many of you, if you've been around for a bit, you know that season 2 was unplanned, I should say, or a break from season 1 was somewhat unplanned. We were going strong and steady, and then like episode 27, 28, I publicized my burnout. I had been feeling burnout like episode 20. I was just like hitting a roadblock. I definitely still enjoyed interviewing guests and like reaching out to guests and engaging with guests and everything, but I was so sick of the whole social media game. I was so sick of editing and uploading podcasts and like trying to find like catchy titles and all of that. And then I think it was episode 28, or in between 27 and 28, I skipped a week. I was like, fuck it. You know what? I don't feel like doing this right now. It doesn't feel right. So I'm going to pause and I'll be back next week. And then we posted episodes 29 and 30, which were amazing interviews. And then I was like, wait a second. I don't feel like doing this anymore. And I knew that it wasn't like anymore ever, but I very clearly needed a break. I was burnt out from doing this, and this is something that I really enjoy doing and I love. So I took a break from season 1, or I should say I took a break after episode 30, and then I was like, oh, wait a second, I can implement seasons. That's why people do seasons. That's why one man, one woman, one person shows do seasons for podcasts. It totally makes sense now. It is a lot of work, and this season I'm hoping to simplify a lot of things. I don't think that listeners, you all are really going to be able to notice a ton, but it's more so for myself. This, as you all probably know, is a fun side gig that I do. It's an opportunity for me to help educate, help spread awareness, and advocate for things like health at every size and a weight-neutral, non-diet approach to health and well-being. But I do also have a full-time job, and I think during we're still in a pandemic, but when I was full-time working from home, it felt more doable because I was literally only at my desk from 8 to 5. I wasn't driving to work. I was able to move over my lunch breaks, but now that I am back in the office, primarily full-time, I have to drive to my office. I don't have a ton of time in my schedule. So, simplifying, and which actually that is kind of going to be my word for 2022, I think, is the word simplify, like simple. for many reasons, but I'm going to apply it to the podcast as well. So things are going to be simplified for me, myself, and I, and I'm really excited about that. Other things that have been going on in this downtime that I've had. Well, I guess this didn't happen during downtime, but I got engaged, woohoo, in July. It feels like it just happened, but July was like a long time ago. Holy cannoli. So Tyler proposed in July, and so we are planning a dang wedding. And I'm definitely going to do a wedding episode, but the whole process has been going really freaking smooth, and I'm grateful that I paused the podcast when I did, because I just feel like that would have felt like a lot to me, even though I've made the wedding planning process has been so smooth and simple and easy. But I think if I had done that and tried to continue doing the podcast, like I just wasn't in the right headspace. So I'm very excited for that. We are getting married on May 13th, 2022, which is Friday the 13th. Yep, sure is. We're really excited. It's going to be a small little shindig, semi non-traditional, but yeah, we're really pumped for it. So that's been a thing that's happening. I definitely want to do a podcast episode on the process or just my feelings about it. Maybe I'll bring a guest on too, because I'm definitely having some of those body size feels are reemerging that I haven't felt in a long time. So, related to wedding dress and just I feel like wedding in general. Obviously, we have an entire episode on this, anti-wedding bod. But just the whole bride and wedding kind of go together, and we think about body size when it comes to it. I just think it's like a natural societal thing culturally. That's what we think about, is the bride being thin, losing weight, doing these really restrictive diets in order to look her best on her wedding day. So not shaming myself for that, recognizing that it's happening, but I definitely want to do an updated episode on that. So something to look forward to in this season. Other things that have been going on. Very excited to announce that I am officially a certified intuitive eating counselor. Woohoo! So we talked about intuitive eating on I feel like nearly every episode of season 1 for a good reason, because it's good shit. But I always was very cautious about talking too much about it because I wasn't certified yet. One thing I love about myself, I love a lot of things about myself, shouldn't we all? One thing I really pride myself on, though, is practicing within my scope. So prior to getting my certification as an intuitive eating counselor, I was a certified personal trainer. I'm a certified health and wellness coach. I have certifications in mindfulness. I'm a certified health education specialist, but I wasn't a certified intuitive eating counselor. So I just felt like I wanted to tread lightly around that. And I'm glad that I did, because there's a lot more that goes into getting certified than I think a lot of people realize. For one, just the depth of the knowledge and, or I should say maybe how thorough the information is about intuitive eating. It's still amazing to me that some people talk about intuitive eating or help people with intuitive eating, and they don't even realize that there's a process to do it. They don't even realize there's 10 principles to intuitive eating. And just being able to work through that process, learn a little bit more. Evelyn Tribbley, one of the co-founders of Intuitive Eating, emailed us literally probably 50 plus, probably more than that, research articles on things related to intuitive eating and body size and weight and all of this. And I haven't even gotten through a quarter of them. There's so many of them, but I think having that knowledge and just being able to really immerse myself in that process was really helpful. And again, taking a break from the podcast allowed me to spend more time doing it, even though I did get certified as part of my job. My job actually paid for it. I cannot share how grateful I am for that. But I did a lot of work on the side to help get myself ready. I think reading books or spending time diving into the research and all of that. So if I had been still doing the podcast and continuing on with season 1, I don't think I would have been able to fully immerse myself in the criteria in the curriculum for the intuitive eating certification. But that is new. I can add CIEC to the end of my name. I have so many letters at the end of my name. I think I talked about this before, or maybe not, but because I have a bachelor's and I didn't go on to get my master's like I had planned, I feel like it's kind of like an imposter syndrome or pride thing. I feel like I have to continue racking up certifications in order to show that I'm qualified since I don't have a master's, which is complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. But anywho, adding those 4 letters to the end of my name, and I'm pumped about it. Other kind of things, like personal things that have popped up since the ending of season 1, I have started going to a group training gym. I don't know how to explain it. Like, the classes are group classes, they're led. And I had been wanting to do this for a while because I had just noticed that I was not looking forward to exercise. Like, I've mentioned it before in the podcast, we have a gym here. We have 2 garages, and one is like basically a full CrossFit gym. We're very extra. We go all in. Everything we do it like 130%. But anywho, during the pandemic, like when everybody was at home during quarantine, I should say, or social distancing, whatever, I just was not feeling like working out. And I was very on and off with it. I tried to do like kettlebells in my living room and tried to pick up jogging to get outside and all these things. But like, I hadn't been able to get back on this regular schedule. And obviously there are so freaking many benefits to regular movement and structured exercise. And for me personally, a lot of it is like anxiety management, managing my mental health. And so, I just kind of realized, like, you know what? I am willing to pay a little bit to go to a group training studio. I don't even know what to call it. It's a gym. I don't want to call it a studio. That makes it sound really bougie. But I'm willing to pay to go to a gym for someone to write my workouts. But of course, there was a caveat there. I had to be sure that it was a weight neutral place to go for my own mental well-being, and because I'm not about to pay $100 a month to go to a gym that promotes weight loss or diet culture. Like, I can't. I'm beyond that. I can't do it anymore. So I found a local gym. It's like on my way to work. It's amazing. I'm still going there. I think I started going maybe back in October. Yeah, October. So I've been going there a few months now. I love it. There's no mention of weight loss. It's not that they don't help people with weight loss. Like, they don't market that necessarily, but there's just not like a massive focus on it. So I really love it there. The coaches are extremely qualified and it's fun. That shit is fun. Like, I look forward to going. I feel so much better when I go. So, and I think my point with sharing that is that I'm really finding the gray area in health and fitness again. I feel like when I started the podcast back in, was it July of 2020-ish, that I started it with the intention of really highlighting the gray area and finding the middle ground between, the 2 extremes that we commonly see in conventional or, in health and wellness, right? One extreme being the oftentimes disordered, very strict, rigid, disciplined, etc. And the other side being kind of this like fuck it all mentality where I don't give a shit about how often if I move my body or how often I do. I don't really care about what food I eat, etc., etc. And I really wanted to highlight the middle ground. And I think when I first started, like, I was there, loved it, thriving. But as I got, I want to say pulled into anti-diet culture or like the anti-diet space, but I also just like kind of dove in head first. I found myself really swimming more towards the latter extreme, the fuck it all mentality. And I've learned that I needed to do that in order to get where I am today. But I think that it definitely rubbed off on the podcast a little bit, and that's fine because, again, I don't think it was harmful necessarily to be in that place. For me personally, I needed to, and I know that a lot of you listeners might still be in that place, and that's what you needed to hear at the time. But now I'm really like making my way back to the middle ground, to the gray area with health and fitness, and I'm really excited to be here. More to come about what that means, but for me, it really just means, finding a middle ground, recognizing that not everything has to be black or white. Not everything has to fall into one bucket or the other, that we can go for a run and we can still be weight neutral and non-diet, or we can educate ourselves about macronutrients, and still be non-diet and weight neutral. That we can spend money to go to a group training studio and still be non-diet and weight neutral, right? And those are all things that in the past, I wouldn't say that would be weight neutral or non-diet. So more to come on that, but I'm really excited to be in the place that I am with health and fitness. I'm really excited about what's to come for my own personal like health and fitness journey and progress, but also how it can influence and benefit the information that we share on this podcast as well. So that has been what I've been up to. And now let's take it to the future. Let's look into season 2. I know that's why you're here. I know you're really excited about what's to come. At least I hope you are. But if we recap season 1, I really focused on like diving into and all things anti-diet, right? I interviewed non-diet dietitians, mental health practitioners, weight neutral strength coaches, even like quote unquote regular folks just looking to break the cycle of dieting. And it was fucking magical. And I think the whole point of it was to highlight the harm of dieting. And I wholeheartly, cross my heart, hope to die, believe that dieting is harmful. Absolutely. And my mission really was to help people understand that there's another way to look at their health and well-being. But in order to be able to look at our health and well-being in a different way, we have to acknowledge that dieting is harmful, diets don't work, and that there's another way to go about it. And now I feel like we're at this point, or maybe we're not all there, but I'm at this point where I don't feel, like chained to a scale. I don't feel obsessed with food. I don't feel like I'm vying for the highest calorie burn with exercise. And I realized that I have time for so much other shit. I have time to prioritize other areas of my well-being that, quite honestly, matter more a lot of times than diet and exercise. So some of these things that come into play are thinking about, our environmental health, our occupational health, our financial health, our spiritual health, our social health, our gut health, right? Like all of these things that when we are so focused on the number on the scale, what we're putting in our bodies in terms of food, how many calories we're burning while we're running on a treadmill, we don't have time to think about these other aspects of our health and well-being. We do not have time to think about health and well-being beyond diet and exercise, beyond food and movement. And that's what we're going to be doing in season 2. We're going to take a look at all these other areas of our life. We are going to dive into all of it all, but don't worry. We will still be doing that all through a weight neutral lens or a weight neutral approach. So for some more details, what can you expect? We're going to be talking to PTs about pelvic floor health, an intimacy coach about relationships and sex. Ooh, very excited about this one. It's going to be coming out on Valentine's Day. Fucking fitting, right? We're talking to financial coaches and financial advisors. I'm talking to my BFF, shout out E-Dog, Erin Copeland. We're going to be talking all about with her about starting a new side gig. We're going to bring on non-diet dietitians to talk about gut health and, the basics of nutrition, gentle nutrition. There are so many things that we're going to be diving into, and I feel like once we get through season 1 and we've given ourselves that space to challenge diet culture, to recognize that dieting is harmful, we have space to think about all these other areas of our health and well-being. And so I'm very excited to be diving into those. I will also still be doing regularly scheduled solo episodes. So I'll be talking about things like mindfulness and how ego can help us and or harm us in the gym. We'll be talking about behavior change, wedding shit, right? I'm probably going to have an episode on that. So many exciting things to come. I think what you can expect from season 2 is just more variety, which is great. And just kind of switching things up a little bit from season 1, which personally I really need because again, I need more of this gray area health and fitness in my life. And I'm really hoping that season 2 can provide that. Other things to look out for. I will be posting episodes every week, so you get to hear from myself and some amazing guests every single week. And I will also be uploading them to YouTube, so you will have video that you can watch as well. Maybe you're already watching me on video now. Another thing, GTB Coffee Chats, they are coming back. If you aren't familiar with what GTB Coffee Chats are, they're basically just morning Zoom sessions with whoever wants to hop on and join, where we talk about a specific topic related to non-diet, weight neutral approaches to health and well-being. So we've talked in the past about summertime and how we're feeling about summertime coming up in regards to summer bodies. We've also talked about, we've had social media rants where we just fucking rant about the shit we're seeing on social media and some of the harmful challenges that we're seeing. Other things that you might be hearing about are, New Year's resolutions or how we're feeling about the change in the seasons or mentally how we're feeling. How has our relationship with food been? All of those things. And typically I pick out a specific topic that we'll be chatting about ahead of time, but it's super freaking casual. Just a chance to literally hop on Zoom and connect with other people who are doing the same thing as you. They are working their way through this non-diet journey and really trying to heal their relationship with food and movement and their bodies. And I think connecting with other people and finding a community to do that with, regardless of what behavior you're trying to accomplish, finding community and accountability and sharing your feels is super freaking important. So be on the lookout for those. I will also, in addition to not only offering more coffee chats, I'm thinking that I'm going to be recording those and then using them as podcast episodes as well. I think it will depend on potentially on the topic and just how everybody feels about that. I want to give everyone space to decide if they want it to be recorded or not. It is absolutely a safe space to share how you're feeling, but if you don't want that to be broadcasted to the audience, absolutely I want to honor that, and I still want you to be able to show up and find a sense of community without having to worry about your experience being blasted to the universe. Even though I will say the podcast is still a little tiny baby. It's not like we have thousands and thousands of listeners, but still I want to respect that. But that's really exciting. So more time to connect with one another and the opportunity to be heard on GTB, the podcast. How cool. Other than that, I'm very excited, if you can't tell. I don't really have a script for today also, if you can tell that, because I'm all the fuck over the place. But so many exciting things to come in season 2. Again, I think this fresh mindset is what I'm most excited for, because it's going to allow me, I think, to learn a lot more. Learn about new topics that I am interested in, but didn't have the opportunity or didn't give myself the opportunity to learn about in the last year because I was so focused on healing my relationship with food and movement in my body. But I think, again, being able to connect it all back to a weight neutral approach, how does finances, how does that relate to, a non-diet mentality? Or tell me more about relationships and sex and how that impacts, our body image or that sort of thing, how we feel about ourselves. So I'm really excited for that kind of fresh look, fresh podcast guests and interviews. Very excited that it's going to be weekly. and that we're going to have more GTB coffee chats, because that's one thing I really, really missed about taking a break, was not connecting with as many of you as I normally did. While it was freaking amazing to pause social media for a long while and the podcast, I did miss the connection. If you follow me on Instagram, or I should say if you don't, you should. But if you do already follow me, you know that in the past I've done a lot of reels and educational tidbits. Some of that will be dialing down a bit, I will say, only because, again, I'm simplifying. I am simplifying the podcast, making it easier for myself, and making it more enjoyable for me. And I think that will really be translated on the podcast with what you hear and how I show up. So many exciting things. I wish this was a coffee chat now, so I could like see your reactions and see like virtual high fives, but obviously it's not. However, after listening to this episode, I would love to hear your thoughts about all things GTB to come in season 2. I want to know what you're excited about, what you want to hear about, who you want to hear from, and any ideas or thoughts that are popping up in your mind as we wrap up episode 31, the first episode of season 2. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of GTB. If you're enjoying this podcast, feel free to head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe. You can also share this podcast on Instagram and tag me at Give 'em the Bird Podcast. I will see you back here next week for another episode, but in the meantime, go give 'em the bird.